Yeah, so so yeah, it's about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we had a good sort of 6 hours, 6 hours, you know, really intense, colourful tripping. Really intense, colourful tripping. Sort of didn't really feel like you were inside yourself, you know. Sort of felt like your inner self was connected with everything external. You know, it's hard to talk in Technicolor, which is kind of the language you need. You know, linear English language can be futile in trying to paint a picture of that experience. You know, language, man, like in general. You know, I feel like you were crafting new language with every lick of the tongue. You know, at moments, but where's my drink? I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, you know, we were kicking back. It just turned dark, and you sort of look up at the sky, and you focus on a patch of the sky, and all the stars sort of come out, and make themselves visible to you. That kind of correlation between you and the stars, that awareness kind of triggers the reaction or the response from the rest of the sky. A kind of choreographed display, you know, pursued. You know, one that, you know, Walt Disney's best CGI shit man would struggle to recreate that. He really would. But yeah, it's 4 in the morning. 12 hours after I took the mushrooms, and I feel a bit drained now, obviously. But if I could just talk about a few other parts of the trip that were really intriguing, fascinating, you know. And I'd say that, you know, I was with a few friends, and we went into the lounge at one point, and jumped on YouTube, and it was like every video we put on was just written, scripted for that moment. And the room came alive, you know. We were in like a sort of 3D total immersion, sort of holographic reality simulator, I guess you'd call it. And sort of being plugged into the entire room, you know. Visuals are plenty. Like, I felt like you could eat the visuals almost. They were that prolific and in front of you, like these colourful, sort of warped, melting patterns that, you know, you could almost taste them with your tongue. And fucking hell, don't get me started on the food, man. Holy shit. That fridge was a fucking conundrum in itself, you know. But once we got in, like, got a bit of food out of the fridge, like, we bought a bagel from the shop, sort of salmon and cream cheese bagel. My mouth's a bit dry at the moment. And yeah, fucking hell. Watching this bagel, you know, warp and morph and melt, and you could sort of watch it degrade, like break down and then reform in front of you. And sort of, you know, sharing these visuals as a group, we were really kind of plugged in and tuned in together. I feel like we were sort of operating at a vibration, a sort of level of vibration where, like, we were just in tune, in sync with each other, like me and my friends. And I'm not going to lie to you, I got a little bit hairy on a couple of occasions, as mushrooms can do, you know. They'll take you this way and take you that way. But you keep coming back to to love, to be fair with you, like, you know, energy and vibration and love, and you kind of think, because you kind of feel out of yourself, like a bit external as well as internal, like there's no kind of boundary between this kind of, you know, kind of invisible, like you kind of get a peek into the invisible. You can see the connections between all the gaps that are normally there to the naked eye on a, you know, on a fucking Monday morning on your way to work. You know, they're all kind of joined together in an intricate web of sort of 3D patterns, colours. You know, fractal sort of atomic structures coming out of the woodwork. You know. And I kept thinking, you know, once people realise that we're all fucking one, and, you know, love is the underlying fucking vibration, people won't go to war, man. Like, people won't fucking fight, blow each other up and fucking kill each other, you know. Once they sort of realise that we're all one, you know. It's like cutting your own arm off, man. You wouldn't fucking do that. You know, you wouldn't stab yourself in the fucking gut, would you? You know. So that realisation is, you know, a stark realisation, that a strong sort of realisation that you kind of have. You know, we're not separate. You know, not really. So yeah, that was a very, you know, very soothing thought to come back to, because your mind does race, it does wander a little bit, you know, and I don't know, I guess experience, you know, just having, I mean, we're creatures of, you know, we yearn experience in any way, shape or form we can get our hands on it, you know. Shopping, eating, look at the TV, well, not for me, you know, but the human condition, like TV seems to be an experience that, you know, everyone likes to plug into. Sort of plug into a, you know, a sort of natural, you know, television perhaps. Not really, but you know, I mean, you know, what is TV? It's just a visual treat. Peek into a different reality, you know, someone else's story. Why not have a peek further into this reality, you know, into these dimensions before your very eyes, rather than those plastic dimensions in a fucking, you know, cardboard box on the side of your fucking cupboard in your fucking bedroom. I mean, watching the sky react to your awareness, you know, watching a choreographed array of stars, and it's like the M25 had been thrust up into the universe, and we were just like having a peek into the sort of busy highway of sort of spaceships and craft, you know, travelling like a 3D fucking motorway up there, dancing before you. You know, trees breathing life, you know, reacting to your perception, to your awareness, you know. showing some sort of awareness on behalf of you know, maybe. We'd Paul Stamets, you know, mycologist, author, fucking genius, you know. He would, you know, argue the point that mushrooms could well be sentient fungi. I only learnt the other day that mycelium is so prolific. It's the biggest fucking organism. Mycelium. There's a I think it's a 22-acre patch of it, 1 cell thick. Nature's internet. Like a weird sort of, I don't know, external set of lungs and stomach absorbing nutrients and, you know, breaking wood down and rock, turning it back into soil, you know, branching other plants together under the ground and feeding them with nutrients and, you know, providing them with properties to have some sort of symbiotic relationship with, you know, plants and fungus, man. Like, they grow together, like, you know, take fungus away and a lot of other stuff will start disappearing. But I believe fungus was the first, you know, it was here before plants on planet Earth. So I'm led to believe. It's an interesting thought. Fungus can feed off radiation as well, you know. Radiation's everywhere, I mean. Spores can survive in vacuums, you know. They could well have been, you know, mystery space drugs sprinkled over planet Earth, you know, for humans to interact with and experience. Tools, you know, tools for growth, as Jason Silver would put it. Not for recreation, but for tools for growth. You know, when you're a kid, you grow big. And you think, oh, you know, stop growing now, but no, you carry on growing within, you know. Don't know what it is you're trying to achieve, whether it's inner perfection. That's a silly thing, but, you know, inner peace, tranquility, you know, calm, because you realise that you're part of a bigger organism, perhaps, you know. You're certainly, you know, tuned in or plugged into something greater, far bigger than you'll ever imagine. And just to experience that on a different level, with a different set of goggles, you know, for a brief period of time, whether it be in, you know, in the hills of Peru with the shaman drinking the ayahuasca in the Amazon, or whether it be growing a box of Thai mushrooms at home on your fucking cupboard, man, you know, and eating them in the garden with a load of your friends. You know, whether it be taking LSD at a free party in the woods, you know. But to have a psychedelic, you know, to have a true psychedelic experience is something that every human, in my mind, you know, has the potential to have. So an experience so great like that, why would you choose to pass it up? You know, propaganda maybe, brainwashing, drugs, propaganda, campaigns, you know. I mean, it feels like you blast the cobwebs out, like you blow the dust out of all the cracks, like you've had a system reboot, almost. But you know, in a people get frightened about that, man. It's not like it's not like you're deleting yourself and starting again, but like it gives you the ability to look at areas where you can tweak or make improvements, you know, in your personality, in the way that you treat people, you know, and the way that you go about your day to day. So the ability to have a look at that under a microscope with a different set of lenses, you know, you can perceive it in a different way. You can, you know, and how you choose to go about your day to day afterwards is it's down to the individual, really. But I think, you know, having a good experience with your friends, and sharing that experience with them afterwards, having a talk about it, can be good. So yeah, just to recap, 30-gram dose, fresh Thai magic mushrooms. But I'd say that's a sort of medium to strong dose, I would say, based on previous experiences I've had in Amsterdam throughout the years. I'd say the Copelandia caiensis, something like that. The Copelandia Hawaiians, the real inky, mean-looking little fuckers, you know. A 30-gram dose of that's a fucking strong dose, man. But a 30-gram dose of Thais is a strong dose, but like, it gives you a bit more of a fighting chance, we'll say. Because the Hawaiian Copelandias can fucking, they can fucking launch you, you know, into orbit, and melt you into the very fabric of your, you know, your surroundings. Whereas the Thai mushrooms weren't completely body dissolving, you know, but they were very, very, you'd fully dived into the mushroom realm, head first, you know, into the deep end, really. But you know, you had a scuba diving tank and a pair of flippers. With the Hawaiian Copelandias, it's like you're free diving with a small machete for any large fish you might come across. But with the Thai mushrooms, there's no big fish, and you get a diving tank with a pair of flippers. So take from that what you will. But I'd recommend, if you hadn't had many experiences with the mushrooms, then start off with 15 grams of fresh for the Thai. You know, wait an hour or two, because you might be surprised. You know, I mean, I've never done a small dose. I've never done less than 30 grams of fresh, to be fair. You know, I've done Colombians out in Amsterdam. I've done possibly Ecuadorian. I've definitely done the Hawaiian Copelandias out there on a few occasions. I mean, we used to go out there and eat a whole box each, me and my mates, you know, and then we'd be in the coffee shop the following day, and we'd have a chat to a couple of locals, and one occasion, you know, we got talking about the mushrooms, and we said, yeah man, we done a whole box you know, of the Hawaiians last night. And the dude's like, what, a whole box between you? Like, there's 3 or 4 of us sat there, and we're like, nah man, we did a whole box each. And he couldn't fucking believe it, man. He was calling his mates over. He's like, come over here, boys, come over here. He's like, these guys did a whole fucking box each. He's like, and they all sat there, like, you know, jaws dropped. They're like, what happened? What happened to you? Like, they couldn't, you know, they're like, we normally eat 1 or 2, like, you know, see how we get on. And we were like, we didn't, you know, at the time, we didn't really know any different. We just thought, you know, do a whole box each. You know, buy the ticket, take the ride, dive in fucking head first. And it never occurred to us that you could do half a box and see what happened, you know. But in all fairness, man, fucking hell. That might be something I'll try in the future, man, like a low dose just to get a gauge. Like, I've got, you know, I don't know. I mean, we did some truffles about 2-3 weeks ago. That was the first time I'd done any psychedelics for about 5 years, really. Unless you include ketamine. Only a little bit. But, yeah, I think we did about 11 or 12 grams of truffles, you know, the Hollandia. And they were pretty strong, you know, that was a pretty good trip. In fact, I had about half an hour with my, you know, closed eye visuals. I laid on the couch with my eyes shut for about half an hour, and I was kaleidoscope kind of imagery kind of working its way down, like with my eyes shut, and it was like a kind of pink like section that kind of sucked me in, and I was in this like weird pink pouch with, like, you know, I could kind of pulsating fleshy kind of pink pouch. It was fucking weird, with these kind of blue kind of like kind of pulsating in and out of vision, like blue kind of Buddha type eyes kind of coming through and going back and coming through and going back, and I felt myself dissolving, like, you know, to the point where I could like just melt into the couch, and there's a little part of me that wouldn't quite let myself fully dissolve, and I'm a bit gutted actually that I pussied out, do you know what I mean? I should have just let myself fully dissolve, man, because I think that would have been it. I could have perhaps gone through to the other side of the pink pouch, to where the blue eyes were kind of trying to lead me through, and that might have been the ticket, you know. But it was good fun, that was a hectic one though, you know. There was a lot of people that weren't taking the mushrooms. There were information overload, like feeding into your headspace, you know. Sometimes you want to be able to dictate your own headspace when you're on the mushrooms. You don't want too much information overload. It can get a bit loud, a bit hectic. Different people laughing, like you need an EQ to kind of bring the levels down a bit, you know. A lot of the sound engineers gone a bit haywire with the fucking levels, man, you know. Cranked up the laughter over there a bit too loud, and cranked up the fucking, you know, jibber jabber over there a bit too loud. That's when you need to go for a walk, man, just have a little chill. But yeah, I'd say the Thai, I'd give them 3 to 3.5 out of 5 for the visuals. And, you know, that's not underselling it by any means at all. That's only because I've had ones that have, you know, taken me to the fucking line of non-existence and regenerated me into a new fucking fabric of time-space reality. These particular ones didn't quite do that, but the visual feast was certainly, you know, better than your finest cheese platter, as my mate Steve might relate to. We dug the fucking 20 different fucking types of cheddar out of that fridge, mate, and had a good old chomp on them halfway through, I tell you. Fucking hell. That fridge kept on producing blue cheese after cheddar after fucking, you know, slice of this, chunk of that, fucking throw it in the fucking baguette, have a chew on that. But, you know, 3.5 out of 5 for the visuals, and I'd give them about a 3 out of 5 for the body high as well. 3.5 out of 5 for that. And by the body high, I mean the body feeling, like the fact that you kind of almost feel like you're flickering in and out of existence almost, but like you kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but like so like you can almost feel like you're an energy flowing through yourself, and you can kind of almost flow into your fingers and back out of them and up to you. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but the body high was there, but it didn't, you know, fucking rip you open and lay you down and, you know, piece you back together sort of thing. It was just kind of like you were kind of warping and melting and dissolving a little bit, but kind of, you were always like, you know, mostly there. You know, you didn't completely fucking dissolve into a pool of, you know, atoms and particles. But yeah, 3.5 out of 5 for the visuals, 3.5 out of 5 for the body high. Brain high, again, probably about 3 to 3.5 out of 5 for the brain high. You know, I did tell you language is futile, and it's not because my vocabulary lacks, you know, albeit I'm pretty fried now, I'm pretty tired now. You know, it's like you can't talk in images, you can't talk in symbols and patterns and colour, like, you can only talk in fucking sounds, do you know what I mean? But yeah, pretty much 3.5 out of 5 for all the categories, I'd say. You know, I did wonder what it would have been like if I'd have done 35 or 40 grams straight up. Maybe that's for next time, but to be fair, I think I might go for a sort of 10 to 15 gram dose. I might just do them on my own, in my room in the dark, and just have a kind of mellow, slightly more grounded, and again, not taking anything away from it, you know, slightly more grounded affair, but not for a month, you know, I don't want to do it for another month. Still got a bit of information to process, and a few things to look back on from that trip, you know. I mean, I'm not a bad guy, but I definitely need to be more nurturing towards certain people, in a, you know, just in a humane, you know, way. Just operate at a slightly higher vibration, love, energy. Anyway, I think we'll call that a night. But highly recommended Thai magic mushrooms. I didn't, when I was in Thailand, many times I've been, I never got around to doing them, because I was still feeding off the back of a hectic trip from Amsterdam, where I took a whole box of Hawaiian Copelandias with a friend of mine. We did a whole box each, and I wasn't in the mood for doing them, and I kind of went into it with the mentality of, you know, fuck it, I'll do them anyway, because everybody else had bottled out at the last minute, and my mate wanted to do them for his birthday, so you know, I said I'd do them with him anyway, even though I didn't want to. Bad mistake. I had a really good time, but it got a bit hectic. We did them, you know, in the afternoon, centre of Amsterdam, and when you're walking around with, like, you know, reptile people, like with fucking lizard tongues and piranha heads and, you know, mechanical fish cars and fucking, like a weird underground reptile fucking boudoir, you know. Yeah, it was a very wet, reptilian type vibe going down there. But yeah, that was a night that I really did shake hands with insanity and send the cunt packing. I tiptoed over that line where you think you're not going to come back from, and then managed to launch myself back from there, quite epically, I must admit. But you know, they say that sometimes you learn the most from the bad trips, quite often, looking back on them. And bad's probably the wrong word, you know. I wouldn't say that bad. A little bit scary, maybe. But shit, man. If you don't get scared from time to time, you're not asking the right questions, you know. Fucking hell, reality, you know. Earth. The universe, you know. Black holes, fucking quasars. Just planets in general, fucking hanging there. In orbit, in motion. I mean, I think you're allowed to get a little frightened from time to time when you're hurtling through space on a fucking organic spaceship. You know, fucking God knows how many fucking miles round. I could look that shit up, but you can do that yourself. Or you could write it down, like, for me, because, you know, I can't grab that fact for you at the moment. But fuck, man. You know, mountain lions and fucking bears and sharks and alligators and, you know, you're allowed to ponder, you're allowed to ask questions, you're allowed to fucking look at yourself and, you know, look at the other people around you and, you know, question. You're allowed to fucking question, man. You should question. You're encouraged to question. With questions come, you know, sometimes uncertainty, sometimes answers you don't want to hear, but shit, man. It's all part of the dance, you know. It's all part of the journey. And on that note, good night.